back to Build Your Best Life 2023 Conversation with the Guys. And I'm telling you, man, I told myself I wasn't going to miss the kickoff because this conversation right here, I wish to God somebody would talk about this when I was coming up as a young man. But even more specifically, even at this stage in my life, it is still a conversation that needs to be talked about. I want to welcome back these distinguished gentlemen back with us. 2023, we're diving in. It's Build Your Best Life, Conversation with the Guys. How are you guys doing? Deacon Dan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Been amazing beginning of the year, and I'm enjoying
it. Good stuff. Elder Levette, what's going on in your neck of the woods? How are you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing great, man. I agree with Dr. I call him Dr. Dan anyway, but yeah, it's just a great start to the year. I'm looking forward to another year.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Coach Wilbaum, what's going on? I know you don't have the same weather we have, but what's going on in your neck of the woods? How are you doing?
Oh, everything is doing good. You know, my new year was good. Keep it busy, you know, as usual, but other than that, I'm looking forward to this conversation as well. You know, I'm glad to see you three guys are doing good and you're healthy and looking good. And let's dive right into it. Let's do this thing.
Hey, man, let me tell you something, man. I'm telling you, I'm living my best life. Come on, praise the Lord. I ain't never claimed to be a singer, but, you know, I mean, come on. You know, the Bible said, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. So it is what it is. Right? let's dive right into today's talk. We know that obviously, guys, we got other things we may need to do today, but I want to dive into this subject. Before we do, I want to thank Coach Deborah D. Smith for inviting us back on this incredible platform, such a needed platform for such a time as this. Today, we're talking about what makes a young man weak, what makes a young man strong. I mean, there's all kinds of messages out there. But when we talk about strength, when we're talking about weakness, when we're talking about being a man in today's society, I want to ask this first question. Why is it essential for men to exhibit strength and strong characteristic? Ella Levette, let's let you kick that off.
All right. So when I was looking at this question, I had to think about it long and hard. And I said, you know what? I think what essential for men to build strength is it takes character to build strength. Yeah. And it takes strength to build character. If you're not a strong man, if you're not at least building your life toward being a strong man, then your character is gonna be lacking. But in the same thing, if you trying to be strong, but you don't have no character, it's gonna weaken you. So that's my answer to that first one. I like that was a brain puller there.
Definitely something to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, wherever you're watching, put a comment in the comment section. Let us know. And please feel free to share your opinion. Put it in the comment section and let us know what your thoughts are on the questions that are being presented. Dr. Coach Wilborn, what's your view on the whole exhibiting strength as a characteristic for young men?
I think the reason why it's important for them to exhibit strength is to show that that they're following because they're a young man. One day later on they're going to be a grown man, and they have to have those strength and strong characteristics if they're going to be with someone, or whether they're with someone or not. They have to show the strength that they have. And in this society today, a lot of people pick on weak people. So, and they have to be strong, not only in mind, they have to be strong in body, they have to be strong in character, like Elder Levette said. And to display this will, get them to a place where they need to get to. Because it's very, very, like you said, living in today's world is very, very hard. It's not like how it was back when we were coming up, as youngsters. It wasn't that hard, and people wasn't that fooled the way things are now. So, strength and character and being a young man is going to go a long way.
Yes. I see one of my good friends, a major influencer, and has been a guest on this platform. We got to have you back, Herb Ford. What's your view, Herb Ford, on the characteristics of a young man's strength and how it should be, displayed? Deacon Dan, your view on the question. We have a lot of young men. You've been in law enforcement. You've raised boys. What's your view on the question?
Well, my view is, they got to have the strength in order to be successful. You got to have those characteristics, and we keep teaching them because one day they can be leaders.
Yeah.
Not only leaders in the community, but leaders in their homes.
Yeah.
So you got to have that strength in order to be a successful leader.
Yeah.
I might add, kick it in, might be a great leader.
Yeah.
That's what I stress to young men, not only my sons, but the young men in the church. I have them to do these things here. So that's my pick at it. You got to be successful. In order to be successful, you got to have that strength.
Now, I know all of you not only have raised boys, but work with boys. Let's talk about the whole factor, boys don't cry. Where did that come from? And is that a true statement? Boys don't cry. I know I have a son. I'm going to pick on Herb Ford while he's in our comment section. Herb Ford have a great young man as a son. Ella Levette, what's your view on the subject matter, boys don't cry? And was that ever said to you? And did you ever allow that to influence you coming up and obviously in parenting?
Well, yes, growing up, yeah, I was told a lot of times, boys don't cry, men don't cry. We don't cry. We hold in our emotions because if not, we're gonna look weak. That's why you know. So since we talking about that strength versus weak thing today, you know, that's what I was told growing up was that boys, no, you don't cry. If I started crying, it was like, hey, suck that up, dry it up. You know, you don't cry, you toughen it up. But I discovered later in life in raising my own son, I discovered that they need to be able to cry, especially sometimes when they boys, they gotta be able, because if not, they never gonna get in touch with their emotions, and sometimes that's what leads to them bottling up a lot of anger, and then it comes out the wrong way. So I think you gotta let them express, because that's an emotion and it's an expression. You just expressing yourself. So I would just say, hey, you know, you it's okay for a boy to cry.
Yeah, it is okay for. It took me a long time to get that one. Now I did cry, but I was called a cry baby. You little cry baby. You little cry baby. You know, Dr. Coach Wilbard, what did you tell them boys? You know, coaching them over the years, and your sons, obviously. What's your view on the subject?
Well, if you're talking about as far as, you know, sports, or if you're talking about just raising boys in general, because I got three of them. I got and I grew up in a home where it was more guys in the home than it was females. And I'm talking about a big household of guys. And it's whole true to what Elder Levette was saying about if you cry and you're a crybaby and you're weak and stuff like that. And that's what they were saying in the home. But, you know, as I grew older and as I became a man, I understood that in certain things it's okay to cry about, and there's certain things that you should not be crying about. You know, so you know, it really depends on what the situation is. And if you're talking about sports, no, you ain't crying at all. If you're gonna get, you know, if you want to do it after the game or whatever, because you lost a big game like a championship or something like that, it's okay to cry. It's okay. You know, I mean, because this is something that you were after and it didn't happen the way you wanted to, you know, so it's okay to cry. But in the same sense, playing sports, if you're not getting in the game for a certain reason and you start crying, then that's something you don't cry about.
Right. So you in that case, you need to man up and get better at the game.
Now, see, that's what I see. What Elder Levette was saying. That's when I'll be like, man, suck it up, man. I wish you would cry.
So Deacon Dan, you know, we had somebody said in the comment section just now, said, I cried. Well, I cried too. And Herb Ford said he was called, I think it was tender-hearted. I mean, you know, my mama said, you just a crybaby. What's your whole view on this? Does this make a man weak? Is it soft for a man to show and bring about his emotions? Or is there this mislabeling of a man who is expressive in this area?
Well, I feel like Dr. Wilburn and Vet says, man, it's okay for a man to cry. Because a lot of things, you just don't keep everything bogged up in you, because that can cause serious mental problems. You know, in areas like that. Give a prime example. We had a funeral at our church, and her son was back there, and he just kept talking. So I just went on back there, telling him, "Come here, friend." He come to him and I said, "Lay your head on my shoulder." He said, "Sir," I said, "Lay your head on my shoulder." I said, "Now let it out." Good. And that made him feel a whole lot better than to keep it bogged up. So I don't see anything wrong with a man crying, but like we say, when you was coming up, they tell you not to cry. Well, I switched the flip on that on my boys. When I raised them, if they want, you know, they come up and say, you know, like they fall or something like that, and they start crying. I'll tell them, no, hey, all right, okay, you're gonna be all right. You know, knock the dust off. And let's go.
Let me ask you guys this question. I'm gonna make it point blank on y'all today. Did you cry? Have you cried? I mean, have you cried to the point where you almost wanted to not cry, but you know this was a worthy moment to cry. And you don't have to share the full story, but how long was it before you realized it was okay for you to just, I'm having a moment, and you sort of lost your composure and you started? I've cried a few times on live doing sessions. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm preaching a sermon, I'm crying. This is not the way to go, Ricardo Miller. And so what's you guys' view about crying? Because I've never seen Herb Ford cry, but I want to know, do you guys cry, or have you cried, and was it okay to cry when you cried, and did you beat yourself up for having cried, or you just allowed yourself to do that in a healthy, expressive way? Because now we're at a place where we're teaching it, but the question is, are we free to do it ourselves? Quick question. Let's go ahead with you, Ella Levette. Start off with that one.
Well, I'll say when I was a little boy, if I fell and scraped my knee, I started crying. I go ahead and get that cry out, and I felt better. It's like what Deacon Dan said. I get that little cry in, and after that, I'm all right going back out to play. So it was kind of like that. But I think I was allowed to cry in my home, specifically like with my mom, but like where a lot of the pressure came from was like school. Sometimes being even around like uncles and stuff, But I wasn't really held back from crying. So yeah, I cried when I need to cry. I cried. I mean, I think sometimes I think just like with Coach Ford, I was called a crybaby a couple times too. So couple times by my sisters and brothers, but not really out in public like that. But I did a lot of times. I would withhold crying out in public best as I can. But you doing that little build up and that, and you just dying to let that out, but you can't because you don't want the little girls to see you crying, because you come back to school, they're gonna put that back to you. So yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. What about you, Coach Wilborn?
Oh yeah, I cried. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I cried. And a lot of times, when I did cry, it was an emotional cry, not a hurt cry. It was like, if somebody passed away, in the family or something like that, or something, or a subject that was near and dear to my heart that really made me feel, sad or something like that, then I would cry. But, nothing to the point that would make me, weak as a young man. You know what I'm saying? If I had to fight, I would go out and fight, and I didn't cry. I went out and fought, but we're talking about, is it okay to cry? Yeah, it's okay to cry. And I have cried before. As a man, I have cried too. I've cried giving a speech, so it really depends on the situation and what you're talking about and how it affects you. So, people say that you're weak because you're crying, then they don't know what they're talking about until it hits them, until something happens to them, and then they start crying, over a situation. So my thing is, it's okay to cry. Now,
That's such a great point. Such a great point. Deacon Dan, have you cried?
Well, yes, I've cried a few times. When I lost my father, we went in the room with him. He was still in the hospital. When we went in the room with him, I had to shed some tears.
Yeah.
And he always taught me to be strong. Yeah. But when I lost him, I saw his strength the night. I had saw him the night before, but I didn't have. My mom called me the next day, said you need to come on out. And when I got there, he had passed. But I cried. And then also, I received some awards that really hit. Was close to me. These awards, and I didn't show a whole lot of crying, but you see the tears coming down from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's so good. So it's okay to cry, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching, don't tell them. If you're raising boys, don't tell them they can't cry. They need to cry. Now here's the deal: don't lose their emotions. Don't let their emotions get out of control.
Right.
Okay. That's what I tell my son. I said, don't get to the point where you're all up in your feelings to the point where you are no longer in control. Keep some of that caution. Let's talk about weaknesses. The dynamics of behaviors that really does lean towards being weak. And a lot of times we don't hear people describe what is strength versus weakness. And we got people in the comment section. I'm interested in seeing Herb Ford's top 5 weakness that is distributed among young men? Put that in the comment section, because he's just as involved with this talk today. But let's go ahead, Ella Levette. You know, signs of weakness. That's just, it's far from what it should be. And if you had to teach it, you must encourage young men to embrace it for those who are watching today.
Yeah, when you're talking about weakness, I think one of the aspects of showing the sign of weakness is when you need other things to aid you in being strong, like per se a gang. You need that. You need a gang, you know, to make you feel strong. Or you need to be this or that in order to be strong. When in natural reality, in order to be a strong man, all you got to do is build good character. If you build good character within yourself as you grow, and if we teach our young men character as they grow, I mean, teaching them things like respect, teaching them how to be courteous, teaching them how to be nice, and how to be, you know, how to govern themselves, how to act, and how to do things. If we build that character in them, then we don't have to really worry about them being weak or looking for other things to build strength in them. I mean, not just gangs, but drugs and all of those different things that people sometimes look to think that that's going to make them strong.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on that.
That is so good. I remember when I was about 9 years old, I was beating up my sister at the house. Me and my sister was fighting it out, and I was beating her too. I was winning. Well, I felt good because I was 1 year older than her. My mama came in that house with a piece of broom, and when she started whooping me, she said, "You won't beat them boys on the street, but you will come home and fight your sister." That's weak right there. And I never did that again. I never did that again. What's your view on weak indicators? And I know you work with a lot of young people, along with having raised boys as well, Coach Wilborn. What's your view there?
Well, I think that, you know, some of the aspects of a weak young man or a weak man is that, you know, they tend to settle in their flaws. They don't want to change. You know what I'm saying? You know, they're scared of change. And when you're strong like that, you always look for a better way. You always look for something positive to do. Now, my thing is, you know, with the kids that I mentor and the kids that I coach, I see so many different personalities, and everybody is different in their own way. So you have to go about it, you know, kind of different to cipher, to see exactly what their weaknesses are. But, you know, as far as, you know, being weak, you know, you don't want to speak out. You don't want to be a leader. You just want to sit back in the background and just, you know, marinate and let everybody else do things. You don't want to do the hard work. You don't want, you know, you want everything done. And to me, that's a sign of weakness, a sign of strength. I'm not even going to go into that because I think that's one of the questions on there. So I'll get to that and ask that question. But weakness is, you know, just settling and not trying to be better and do better. That's what I feel like weakness.
That is so good. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really, really strong one. And look at that. I challenge Pastor Herb Ford.
I see all five.
Herb Ford, he just we could use his 5 points as our talking points for the rest of the day. Right. No self-control, inability to follow through, inability to deal with pressure properly, inability to relate to authority, inability to take correction. It's weak when you can't take correction. It takes a man to know that I could be in authority and under authority. I know how to bow and know how to serve. Oh, Herb Ford, good stuff. Deacon Dan, what's
on that?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things I look at is it's a weakness. They like to complain.
Yeah.
You know, they like to complain. Or they soft. You know,
they don't like being called soft.
Yeah, there's someone with weakness soft, and then they won't change for, you know, themselves.
Wow.
They won't changes just for themselves in that reality, and they never want to take responsibility.
Yeah. You know, years ago, I was asked the question, am I a mama's boy? The question here for you guys now is a mama's boy a sign of weakness? And, you know, when is it a mama's boy behavior goes too far to the point now it's considered weakness? And do women, probably would the women say that's a yes? Or us as men, there is a more balanced view on that of being a mama's boy and still not being weak. Ella Levette.
Yeah, for me, I am a mama's boy growing up, and so is my other 4 brothers. We are all mama boys. I mean, in the fact that we were taught raising up to always protect the women in our family. My dad, he taught us that. He said, no matter whatever happened to me in life, make sure your mom and your sisters are taken care of. So that in that regard, we became all mamas, and we hang around mama all day long. I mean, that's us. We'll fight. Back in time, we fight for attention to get with mom. But there is a way you can be whenever you have a mom that's trying to raise a son and trying to raise it as in the role of father.
Okay.
That's where the mistake comes in, because a woman cannot raise a son as a father would. In other words, they can't be a father to raise them. And I think that type of mama's boy is the ones that they get older, and sometimes they don't have that natural respect for women. They don't have that natural respect, for people, because then they're raised with the wrong. With a lot of the wrong attributes, because they're not raised by a father.
Wow. So good. So, Coach Wilburn, what's your view on that? Mama's boy. Is the mama boy concept one that should be shunned away from, or is there a healthy position similar to what Ella Levette just mentioned?
Well, my thing is there's different, what I want to say, there are different aspects that would come in with being a mama's boy. And it really depends on, what you're saying as a mama's boy. I know coming up, people used to say, oh, you're not nothing but a mama's boy because you're always with her. You always do the things that she's doing. You're always around her. But my thing is, being a mama's boy is not a bad thing, because like Elder Levette said, you always vie for that attention. It was 6 boys and 1 girl in my house. So my thing is, I guess all of us were mama's boys because she treated all of us differently. She loved all of us the same, but treat all of us differently. Now, my brother that's 10 months younger than me, they would consider him a mama's boy because he would always be with her, and he learned how to cook. He learned how to do all that stuff. She taught him everything. But now everybody's jocking him. Oh, man, he can cook, man. He can do this. He can do that. You know what I'm saying? And we can't, so it really depends. And then, the other saying is mama's boy is the one that always run back, tell mama stuff, always tell on people in the house. And that's the other, mama's boy. That
he's a snitch.
Back then, right? Snitch. You know what I'm saying? And the word I wanted to use was a different definition between which mama's boy you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's a sign of weakness to be a mama's boy. My thing is, if you're coming up and you're not acting accordingly like a young man would act, and what I mean by that, always running back, telling on people, doing stuff like that, and sticking your tongue out, when you with your mama, when you're young, and all of that. That's a mama's boy, So being a mama's boy is not necessarily a bad thing,
Good stuff.
I wish my mother was here, I would be a mama's boy. I would be seeing her every weekend if I could. So, yeah.
I'm with you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as you're watching, we want to just present a healthy dialogue. You see, a lot of times we're not talking about this stuff. We're labeling it, okay? But we haven't taken the time to dissect it. Is it okay for a man to cry? Yes, it's okay for a man to cry, but then he shouldn't lose himself in the crying moment to where he has no control over his emotion. Is it okay to be a mama's boy? Yes, a boy should love his mama. He should honor his mama. Deacon Dan, your view on this concept of mama's boy. You have some boy.
Oh, yes, I was a mama's boy. I had a nickname. My sister and them used to say, when they come around, they tell them, say, okay, there go her black Jesus. I said, that's all right. Y'all just don't be a hater. It's fine to be a mama's boy. It's just the point that, when you become a mama's boy, I look at my younger brother and I told him, I said, turn him loose.
Oh.
You grab the skirt, you behind. No. It's 8 years between me and my brother.
Yeah.
Now he definitely was a mama's boy, like hide behind mama or whatever. That's where a point you need to tell him, hey, you gotta turn that loose. You gotta turn mama loose. Don't hide behind her skirt,
Yeah.
That's the only point I see is wrong with it. At the point where mama got to tell, okay, you got to turn them loose.
Yeah.
And I always tell this example. I was 19. I come in the house a little after midnight one night. And where's mama? She's sitting at the door with a belt.
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
Just about maybe 10 minutes after midnight. He told me, say, don't let that midnight hit you in your back no more.
Come on.
I said, okay. So after I got out the house, my brother, they were celebrating, him and my nephew celebrating his 16th birthday. She called me like 2 o'clock in the morning. You seen your brother? I said, wait a minute. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, you ain't sitting at the door with the belt? So, that's what you say that separate that mama's boy from,
Yeah. That is so good. That's so good. Let me push the envelope here. Because I believe this is going to help a lot of parents. We have a lot of moms out there that are raising boys, and I think it's need to be said. What hurts our young men from a female management leading standpoint? What would you suggest to tell the women and mothers out there who are raising boys? Hey, sometimes you just got to back up a little bit and. Hey, let them brush their own knees off when they fall. You don't need to dust their knee off. He'll be okay. He ain't broke nothing, right? And you understand, as Ella Levette says, a woman can't really raise a boy to become a man. But there are a lot of women who are having to raise boys because of absentee fathers. What are some things that just off the cuff that you would have said, you know what, if you're raising a boy, make sure you don't try to treat him like a girl. Like you don't try to just, well, that's how I feel. No, you got to stop because there's no father present. You still got to try to remind yourself of what is healthy men behavior and try to push that. What would be some of those behaviors that you would suggest? I'll start with Ella Levette.
Well, I say to start off, there's a difference between women's strength and men's strength. So you can't raise a son in a women's strength because raising him in a women's strength ain't gonna make him a man. But when he's a man, when as a woman, I would always say, find that your brother or someone that can mentor your young man as far as being a young man. Yeah. You still be mama and you do mama things, but don't train him up and then don't allow him because he'll mark you because you're the only influence and figure he have in the home and he'll mark your mannerisms. Yeah. So don't allow him when you see those mannerisms, like when he's doing certain flipping of his hand and popping his lip or whatever, and that's that kind of those female characteristics. Yep. You got to make sure you don't allow them to continue on in that. Yep. Because that take them into a different lifestyle that you really don't want them to get to. So you have to find them a mentor or a male role model. And I mean a strong one now, not just any kind. A good, strong male role model to actually teach them in being a man. That's something that we did with our nephews, me and my brothers, we did with our nephews, and we still do to this day. When some go on, and my nephews, some of them in their 20s and 30s, my sisters will call us in a minute, hey, I need you to talk to so-and-so. Yeah. And when you build that now, and even now, it's to the point that they'll call us. Hey, uncle, hey, I got an issue I'm dealing with. So that's my take on that.
What about you, Coach Wilborn?
Okay, yeah, just like Elder Levette was saying, don't allow them to start, picking up those traits, that mom have or other females have. And with the three young men that I got, they terrific young men. I've never had no problems with them when it came to stuff like that, or with the young men that I train, or mentor. But the thing is, I would tell a single female parent, that if you are raising a young man, give him some space and allow him to learn, to pick himself up, allow him to make his mistakes, allow him to have his flaws, and to know that, because he's a young man, it's going to be different for him than it would be for a young lady. And give them that space. Now, if they keep doing, the same thing over and over, like Elder Levette said, get them with someone that can, teach them, that can talk to them, that can mentor them, someone that's strong, an uncle, a cousin, or someone that's in the family, someone that you trust, someone that there's a full-fledged, strong man that can teach them, the way of being a strong young man. So that's what I would tell a single parent.
Deacon Dan, any suggestion?
Well, I agree with both Coach Wilbert and that. Being I sometimes I look at Deborah, the baby boy. I tell her, oh, no, no, this ain't this can't happen. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, you can't do that. Because a young man goes back to saying hide behind your mama's skirt. You got to teach him. You got to give him instructions. So you don't want, I understand that the female ain't gonna be able to raise a child and know what the man do. You got to show the young man. I'm gonna use my son. Hey, I have to show them all. Hey, this is what y'all need to do. I understand what your mama say, but now this is what you're going to do. So I don't even have to worry about that no more. And I tell my young men in the church the same way. Yeah, their parents put Deacon Dan talk to him, and the mother, she just walks away. Yeah.
Wow. Well, my son and I, we've been having these conversations lately, and when he was younger, I didn't realize how important was the conversations and the real man to boy talk. I didn't do a lot of it at that time. But we have an incredible relationship now. We sit down and talk about stuff. And I want to talk to you guys about what makes a young man strong. We talk about what makes a young man weak, but I want to talk about what makes him strong. And obviously we can play off of what already we know is weakness, but I think it's very important that we say that, and we tell them that. If you're a mother with a son and you're watching us today, you want to let them know. Oh yeah, here's signs of weakness. Here are signs of strength. And a lot of times we're like, well, he knows. Don't be. Listen, soft has a lot of interpretation. Don't be soft. And then be strong has a lot of interpretation too. What is be strong? And what is don't be weak? What is that? So we really broke it down as to what is weak. Now let's talk about what is strong. Ella Levette?
I think one of the first things is building confidence. I mean, how you do that is a lot of those things we talked about earlier, like building good character. Once they start off with good character, and then allowing them to build a confidence in those characteristics, because if you build your confidence and your character, it'll build strength in you. And then the other thing I was looking at the Coach Deborah's one of her headlines that says one of her mottos on her thing that says, it's better to build now than to fix later.
Yeah.
That right there, to me, answered that whole question. Really, that answered that whole question. If you build them now, then you don't have to worry about fixing them later. Because if you start building them as they're growing up, they will be strong. They will be strong.
Amen. Go ahead, Coach Wilbur. You've been working with a lot of young people. You've raised some boys. Strength. What does it look like to you?
Strength to me is someone that's a leader. Okay, that's a sign of strength. Someone that wants to lead. someone that wants to find innovative and new ways to do things and not just stay at a level where everybody else. They want to be the one that show out. They want to be the one that stands out. That's a sign of strength. That's one sign of strength. Another sign of strength is someone who is a extrovert. And the reason why I say that, because a lot of times they will speak on a lot of things. They're not shy to speak on things, and you can know their views and their points and stuff like that. People tend to, they tend to gravitate toward people like that want to lead. And to be a strong young man, those are some of the characteristics that will help you get over in this world today. Being able to show that, even though you're vulnerable, that you still have that strength in you to be able to do things, beyond what everybody else is doing. So I always tell the kids, that I'm training and that I'm coaching, in order to be a leader, you have to be strong. You can't be a weak leader. You can't even be a leader if you're weak. So my thing is, that's a couple of things that I think that would stand out to be a strong man, young man.
That's good.
Hey, before we go to Deacon Dan, I told my son, we were having a conversation a few years back, and I said, the world is a jungle, son. The world is a jungle. And in the jungle, there's only two. There's predator and prey.
That's it.
Which one are you? Are you going to be the one to get hunted, or are you going to be the one to hunt?
I said, hey, man, I ain't raising no prey. Deacon Dan, what's your view on strength? Let's talk about it.
Well, my view on strength is, first of all, teach them to be honest, respectable, And one of the things I know a lot of people don't do, plan for maturity.
Ooh, yeah.
That's good.
You got to plan for maturity.
Yeah.
And, they got to have those things, self-confidence.
Yeah.
You got to teach them all that. So, and, that's my take on it. That's it.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So if they didn't have a father role model in their life, what is the best way for boys to learn to become a strong man? We heard it a little bit earlier, but let's dive into that and just really give off some stuff, because once again, this is such a prevalent challenge in our society today. You're not raised with a man in the house. You don't have access to your father, but you're a boy. What advice do you give? And let's throw out a few of them, because something is going to stick to somebody that's listening. Ella Levette, you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, I'm going to say the first thing and the first advice I would give to any woman, particularly a single woman, is don't walk around and say, I'm a mama and a father. Once you start from that thought, it's gonna start taking them down a road that you don't want them to go down. That will lead to them being soft and weak. As a man, it will. It may make them stronger as a woman, but you don't want them to be a woman. They supposed to be a man. So that's the first thing I say. And then of course I mentioned earlier, strong role model. They need a strong role model, someone that you can trust. Because you got to be careful who you sending your boys around if they boys. I need to know I need to first know you are strong. I would need to know a woman needs to know that you're a strong man in order to trust their son in your care to help build them into who they are. Because a lot of times, sometimes they get around some of the wrong, you have your boys hanging around the wrong kind of boys, if you know what I mean. And then what happens is they start developing a lifestyle or different things. Even further to go with that, with gangs, things like that. They do that because they had no role model. So I think the first thing is a role model and a good mentor, someone to keep them going. I have several young men that I've for years, since they were teenagers, even like that Deacon Dan said, from the church, and we still to this day we still talk. They call me when things going on and they need, I was just a role model and a mentor for them. And I've been that way. And they, like I said, they still reach out to me. I talked to one of them just the other day, because dealing with some things, just kind of wanted some guidance more so. So that's what we got to do. get them a good strong role model or mentor.
Good stuff. Coach Wilbon, the boy growing up in a home, no father, is not surrounded by, what advice would you give to that single mother raising a boy in the times we're living in?
Okay, me personally, I would say that have them go to church. I would say have them go to church and join a men's ministry. That would be my first and foremost thing, if they decide or desire to do that, because a lot of people don't, but that would be, one of the first things that I would do. And then have them be around men that's doing positive things. You do have different organizations out there that have men that's trying to help other young men become a man, and they're doing positive things. If you have something like that in your area where you live, have them do that. And, my main thing is have them go out there and do some athletic stuff.
Yeah.
That keeps them off the street. When you're out there and they're doing sports and stuff like that, they may even become to love it. But when they're doing that, the camaraderie of being around a lot of other men or young men will rub off on them. And that may be something that will, probably be positive, for them down the road. But I would say make sure that they're around strong men that's going to teach them productivity and to make sure that, they're on the right path to becoming, a great young man, a model citizen, in this world. So that's what I would say.
Deacon Dan, what advice you would like to give?
Well, I'm agree with Coach Wilburn and Elder Levette. Got to have get a great mentor. That one that is going to show the kids which way to go. Not one that's just going to joke and play with them or whatever. I look at and have them in the church. I coach baseball for something like 4 or 5 years in the church. I dealt with I had up to 45, 50 young men, different ages that I had to deal with. The parents, loved them. We had men's breakfast, and I tell some of the same thing, hey, just drop your son off, don't worry about it, come back and get it. And of course, Elder Levette was over our men's ministry for a while, but we was doing men's breakfast and just having to drop the young men's off. And we go from there. But I think a strong mentor, whether it be it could be an uncle or somebody in the family member, you don't have to necessarily be outside, and keep them in the church. Yeah. When I was coming up, we had to go to church. That's wasn't no negotiation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you was late, my mama had to work. She called back. She said, "Y'all going to Sunday school?" "Oh, ma'am. 5 minutes now. Y'all get on up to the church." We went to Sunday school and we started walking back home. She comes around the curve and all she do is point. And then you turn around and go back to church. So, yeah. So, yeah, you get a strong, mentor and then keep them in the church.
Let me ask you guys this. What advice you would give your younger self, being that we live in the world today, something you didn't know that you now know, and just watching the times we're living in, we have a lot of young people that's coming up now, and the information funnel that social media provides, just never know. You could say, "Oh, I wish someone had told me this as a young man. I wish I had known this as a young man. This is what I would tell myself as a young man, knowing what I know now." I'm interested in seeing what you say, because once again, someone could be struggling with that and they have a chance to tap into it, but you figured it a little bit later. For me, I never understood the importance of believing in myself. Lack of self-confidence kept me back from trying so many times. And I would say lack of self-confidence and understanding my unique position in the world or in the room. I am not the other boy. I am not the guys on the basketball team. I am not the best dancer. I can't sing, and it don't make me less, And so I would say, looking back at myself, I would say, be confident in yourself. You got something to bring to the table, and you don't need to be the other guy. You don't need to be the guys. You need to be you. Let's go in there and dive in. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Coach, what would you say, Coach Wilbon?
Well, you know, it's very, it's a coincidence that you mentioned that about growing up and what I would tell myself. And for that type of question, that's kind of hard for me because I actually thought that I did pretty well in what I did as far as, you know, becoming a stronger young man because I was not around a whole lot of kids my age. I was always talking to men. I was always around older people than I was, and I was getting information, getting feedback, getting all the different things that I need as a young man coming up. And it was more of it wasn't like they were mentors, anything like that. It was just that I was so inquisitive and I wanted to know how they became so successful in the things that they did. So I was more away from younger, you know, young men my age. I was always doing things on my own to try to become successful at a young age. So if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would do anything different because I did a whole lot that a lot of young men was not doing back then in order to become a successful. And what I mean by successful, I'm not talking about money, but I'm talking about enriched in life and learned lessons that I needed to know as, you know, coming up as a, you know, a young man. And that's one of the reasons why my boys have turned out to be, you know, good guys and good young men because of the things that I've learned coming up and they fed off of me. And, you know, so that question was kind of hard for me because I felt like, you know, I really did do a whole lot of different positive things at a younger age that other young men didn't do. So that's my take on that one.
I got you. Deacon Dan, what would you tell your younger self, looking at the way you are now, and you had to tell your younger self something, what would you say?
I tell my younger self, never stop learning. You know, I don't care how old you get, never stop learning. You can learn some of the new different things. I'm amazed, you know, in being in this handyman service I have. I am still learning.
Yeah.
You know, different things in construction, different things in plumbing, electrical. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why I tell myself, never stop learning. Yeah. And I always say, take pride in myself.
Well, good.
You know, you
got Levette.
I would say one of the primary things is one thing, I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget how to say it the way I was thinking it, is that you have to understand that being strong does not mean you do weak things to try and build your strength. You don't have to go with the weak things. And when I say that, I look back at my life being somebody that was raised in the projects of the projects.
Yep.
One thing I was taught as a man, you know, even when we lived in the projects, my father always told us, you don't have to be a product of your environment. You don't have to keep the mentality, yeah, this is the best we can do right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to still teach you how to be a man and how to continue being somebody that's positive, somebody that has self-confidence, build your character. Because in this world, when you grow up, my father told me, if you don't make it, don't blame the white man. You can't go out there and say, I'm gonna blame this and them holding me down. I was raised in the projects and all of that. You learn that you can be successful without being a product of your environment. You can still be successful. You don't have to do the things you saw people doing all the time, all the robbings and shootings and beating up people and joining gangs and doing all that. I didn't have to do that because I didn't want to be that. And so I think that's what I would really just remind myself.
Yeah. Good stuff. Gentlemen, we've come to the end of our talk. Closing remarks. When we think about raising boys in today's society, our subject matter was what makes a young man weak, what makes a young man strong. There will be people watching this weeks and months to come what's your closing thought when it's all said and done that you want to leave with our viewing audience?
I can go first?
Go for it. Yes, sir.
Okay. My closing thought on this is just understand and know that anything that you try to do in this world, it's going to be hard. Nothing is easy. But to be successful, you're going to have to take that road and be able to deal with what comes your way. And you can do it. And like Elder Levette said, you know, I'm from the projects, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But I know that if I wanted something, I would have to do something in order to get out of there and to be able to make it. You can make it. Anything worth having is worth going through, and it's going to be hard. But stay focused. Keep your mind, you know, where it needs to be. Just know you're going to hit a whole lot of potholes and bumps along the way. But, you know, keep God first, and you'll make it. Everything will come your way. And stay strong. Stay strong.
Stay strong. Deacon Dan?
Well, I was just saying to, like Coach Wilburn said, you got to stay strong. Don't look at, I'm going to have to bring up gangs. Don't look at joining something to be a part of something to make yourself think that you are better than the person behind you or better than the person above you. Always be respectful of yourself and others, and you'll go a long ways. And listen, you know, you have to listen. Pay attention to what you're doing. I've looked at young men that due to their size, because you're small and you're little, that don't mean you got to be tough and bad and become a criminal, because all that gonna get you is in two places. Like I was telling young men, either they're gonna get you in jail or get you to the graveyard. Yeah. So you have a choice. Yeah, you have a choice to do right and be respectful. That's my tip.
Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another exciting, phenomenal, informative talk here on Build Your Best Life every month. First, listen, you got to decide to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, go to the website, and track the platform. Coach Deborah Smith is doing a great job in trying to help mothers with sons, trying to influence the next generation of young men. And so we as guys, we have partnered with her to be a part of this talk on a monthly basis. We would love for you to share this with some mothers with sons. Once again, there's a lot of things going viral. This is the kind of content that needs to go viral. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that needs to go viral. So please do me a favor and share, like, and comment whenever we show up, because the goal is to have a healthy conversation about the development of our young men. And so next month, join us, same day of the month. Listen, same time. As a matter of fact, when you subscribe to YouTube, put on that notification bell, and whenever we go live, your phone is going to indicate, your tablet will indicate, your laptop will indicate. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Coach Deborah Smith, thank you so much for all that you're doing for the next generation of young men that are coming up. We're excited about 2023. This is going to be a great year. Guys, enjoy your Saturday. Love you all.
You too, bro.
Yeah, love you, brothers.
All right, thank you.